giving us new details on the second health worker to test positive for Ebola. We can tell you that those preliminary test results confirming the case came back overnight. We have also just learned that this latest patient will be transferred to Emory University Hospital in Atlanta. You may recall that is the same hospital where Fort Worth Dr. Kent Brantley was treated after he contracted Ebola in Africa, was then sent back to the U.S. and successfully treated. The other big concern right now, we now know that this new patient traveled on a plane, a Frontier Airlines flight from Cleveland to Dallas just before she was admitted to the hospital and then diagnosed and put in isolation. We are being told that all 132 passengers on board that plane are being contacted and being put in touch directly with the CDC. We also know that the Frontier jet has been taken out of service. It is being decontaminated right now on the ground in Cleveland. Fox 4's Jenny Anchondo has been following this developing news story since the moment it began. She is live in studio with an update. Jenny.
Yeah, so many new details here. So that flight, Steve, landed in Dallas at 8:16 p.m. Monday, and according to the CDC, underwent a thorough cleaning before being returned to service the next day. Again, it is now back out of service. So this latest patient, as you mentioned, will now be transported to Emory University Hospital in Atlanta for her treatment. Now, infected Ebola patients are not considered contagious until they have symptoms, and the airline's crew says this nurse had no symptoms during that flight. We're talking about a female healthcare worker at Texas Health Presbyterian. This is a person who was, again, a part of the treatment team for Thomas Duncan, who died here in Dallas of Ebola on October 8th. Now, she is said to be, according to the CDC, ill but clinically stable. She has 3 known contacts since she started showing symptoms, so that means, in turn, these people are going to be monitored as well. Officials say they still do not know exactly how she became infected, but additional healthcare workers testing positive for Ebola is a serious concern. So she was one of 77 people who were being monitored by themselves for symptoms. Now, 75 healthcare workers who were a part of Duncan's treatment team are monitoring themselves for symptoms, as 2 of them have already tested positive. So this most recent Ebola patient reported a fever yesterday and was isolated within about 90 minutes. The remaining people are not in isolation. They are just instructed to take their temperatures and come forward, as she did. This morning, local leaders and healthcare representatives spoke about how they're handling the spread.
We are preparing contingencies for more, and that is a very real possibility.
A lot is being said about what may or may not have occurred to cause some of our colleagues to contract this disease. But it's clear there was an exposure somewhere, sometime in their treatment of Mr. Duncan.
It may get worse before it gets better, but it will get better.
This is noteworthy as well. According to Texas Women's University, Texas Health Presbyterian Dallas on Sunday closed the hospital to all non-essential personnel, including students. So about 90 TWU students are being reassigned to equivalent clinical experiences at other healthcare facilities. Now, the original group of 48 people who are being monitored because their potential contact with Ebola victim Thomas Duncan remain asymptomatic. They are still being monitored until Sunday, which will be the end of that 21-day period. If you are concerned about possibly being on that flight on Monday, flight 1143 from Cleveland to Dallas-Fort Worth, the number to call is 1-800-CDC-INFO. But again, the CDC says that they will be reaching out to all of those people who are on board.